Yeah, Hamas is not credible. IDF, on the other hand, always credible, even though they've literally lied so many times. So is Hamas as well, of course. Is so stupid. IDF has openly never been credible. Never, ever, ever. I'm saying it. Here.
You tell us about what you're experiencing there. We're seeing still more explosions to the right, to the left of your screen in Gaza.
So we are in southern Israel, right along the border with Gaza. And if you look over there in the area that is black, that is the Gaza Strip. About an hour ago, for 2 hours, we saw some of the most intense bombardments, certainly of the beginning of this war, but maybe of the most intense bombardments I've seen in wars in the Middle East. This was, for about 2 hours, a sustained campaign of tank fire, artillery fire, airstrikes, planes streaking overhead, dropping bombs. And now the Gaza Strip is cut off from the world. It was cut off before, and now it is cut off from communications. It was one of the last things that the people inside Gaza had. Now they can't call ambulances, they can't communicate among themselves, and they can't communicate with the world. Hamas just issued a statement clearly anticipating that this was potentially the start of something major, the start of a major ground offensive. And Hamas's statement anticipating that this could have been the start. And this came from the political wing, which is based outside of the Gaza Strip, saying if Netanyahu decides to enter Gaza by land tonight, the resistance is ready and the remains of his soldiers will be swallowed up by the land of Gaza. So clearly Hamas sensed that what has just happened here over the last several hours was different, but now we don't know what is happening inside because it is dark.
Isn't it a war crime to just cut off communication? My friend, that is one of many different war crimes that Israel has been engaging in for the past 20 days. Remember, okay? For the past 20 days, they've shut off all food, all power, all water the Palestinians need for survival. That was a war crime. They've hit hospitals. They've hit ambulances. They've hit the families of journalists. They've killed journalists. It's one of the many different war crimes that Israel is engaging in. And it's fucking wild that they're not only doing it, but they're also openly saying that they're doing it because their enemies are subhuman. They're animals. And it's wild that while they're doing all of this, okay, the American government is like watching all of it and championing it and saying no red lines for Israel. They can do whatever the fuck they want, okay? And here in the Western world, the message that is the most prescient is like what some fucking random college students are doing on campus, okay? We're doing campus politics. We're picking our fucking battles against like our own personal pet projects. Like people are using this as an opportunity to be like the DSA is really bad and we have to cleanse the Democratic Party from the influence of socialists like immediately because socialists are like pro-Hamas and they love when Israelis die. That's all people are talking about here in the United States of America. At a certain point, you have to recognize that the reason why this conversation is happening over and over again is because every time that conversation happens, the real conversation that should be happening about ethnic cleansing going on, that the Israeli officials have openly admitted is going on and are actually excited at the prospect of, is happening with our tax dollars. It's happening with our go-ahead. It's happening with our intelligence. Okay? We're doing this. We're not only letting it happen, we're literally pushing for it at this point, basically. And it's insane. I've been told by DNC insiders, as well as those within the Biden campaign and administration, are convinced that by the time elections roll around, Arab Muslim voters will cool down and forget all that is happening in Gaza. They're mistaken. Yeah, I don't think people will cool down. I don't know how people think that they're gonna forget this, especially because this is a very touchy subject for Arabs, right? I know that Arabs don't get a lot of play. They're marginal. They're small. They do not have enough like voices and positions of power. And ultimately, if they are trying to protect the interests of countries, that they came from, those countries are always declared enemy nations for the most part. And there's land to be seized there. so it doesn't really fucking matter ultimately. But if you're looking at Arab voters in the United States of America, the reason why they voted for the Democratic Party so consistently, and the reason why they were so, they're so progressive overall, was because they saw what happened after 9/11. Like they remember that. They never forgot that. And for 20 fucking years, they were loyal supporters of the Democratic Party. As a consequence of that, even though the Democrats also personally never really gave a shit about them, right? The Bush administration is the administration to thank for that. Now, there was a lot of writing. There was a lot of writing. Did you forget on what happened? Did you forget about what happened on the 11th of September? Did you forget? I never forgot, brother. We put a boot in their asses the American way, belligerently fucking killing millions of civilians in Iraq that had nothing to do with September 11, but I never forgot. Oh, brother, I never forgot. So, yeah, have you forgotten? It was literally a song. So, anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is this is like the Biden administration's Bush moment. Now, it's really interesting to consider because on the one hand, I forgot what I was going to say. I got too invested in the 9/11. 9/11, never forget. We had to do what we did, brother. And I fucking love what we did, brother. I got too invested in doing that. And now I got too riled up. I can't be thinking about nothing no more. Oh, fuck. I feel it in my plums. Oh, there was a lot of articles that were written about how the Muslim vote is actually switching to a more conservative vote. You know, they were saying that. There was a lot of fucking articles that were written on it. It's really interesting to consider those articles now because they're done. It's gone. It's over, you know? Muslims certainly will not fucking vote for the Republican Party, but there's probably going to be a lot of people who just simply don't vote at all.
It is cut off, and the people who are already under attack are in a much more difficult situation. We were not able to reach our teams, and that has been one of the most important sources of information for us and for the world, frankly, because when Hamas issues statements and when Hamas releases video, it is not of any credibility at all. But when our own teams are able to document what is happening there, the world is able to understand the truth of what's happening in Gaza. Now we are denied that, and the people inside Gaza are still under attack, as you can see, and unable to communicate with the world. The reason Israel says that it did intensify this strike, it says, is that it's going after tunnel networks. And a statement from the Israeli, the IDF, the Israeli military, said that it was intensifying by air, it was intensifying by ground, and that it was going after the network of tunnels after, as you were just discussing, it laid out its case that there are tunnels all throughout Gaza, including under major hospitals.
You talk about Hamas.
We understand the right is worse than the Democrats. I explain why, but you never listen. Man, shut the fuck up. You're not bringing up something illuminating that I'm not that I'm oblivious to. When you say that Muslim voters understand that the Democrats are bad, but the right is much worse. Like, what the fuck are you saying?
Hamas's credibility here, and listen, journalists, we try to confirm the credibility of everybody that we get information from. Hamas, Israel, any official statement, we try to confirm it. Can we talk about, Richard, and can you tell us what you've been able to report up until now about the specifics of Hamas's credibility? Because we keep hearing from the U.S. administration and from the Israelis that Hamas is blocking people from going south. They're keeping people in the north where Israel is doing the bombing. They're blocking people from crossing the Rafah border. They have fuel tanks that they could deliver to hospitals. They have tons of fuel stored that they could deliver to hospitals, but they are not doing so. This is what the IDF says. It's what the Americans say. The President of the United States questioned the credibility of the death toll numbers coming out of Hamas and the Palestinian Health Ministry. How do we sort out real from or fact from fiction here, or exaggeration from reality?
Well, I think it's very simple. Hamas has no credibility. You take nothing that they say at face value. A group that murders people and takes hundreds of hostages, including children, should not be taken at face value, should not accept what they say. But that's why it is so important that we are able to get information out of Gaza independently, something we are not able to do right now because the internet has been cut, the phone lines have been cut. But we have been able, you ran through about 15 different questions there. We have been able to identify several of them. And
yeah, Hamas is not credible. IDF, on the other hand, always credible, even though they've literally lied so many fucking times. So is Hamas as well, of course. But the idea that like the health ministry that you have always relied on, or even like other people that are there, like people who are unaffiliated with Hamas, is so stupid. IDF has openly never been credible. Never, ever, ever. I mean, they post shit all the fucking time. They post stuff that is an abject lie all the time. Okay? The idea that like the governing body of Hamas on the health ministry side is not credible is ridiculous. Okay? It is fucking ridiculous. Especially when they like every single outlet and the American State Department has used their numbers in the past. These numbers have been fucking verified. But that's all it takes. It's crazy. All it takes is for the American government to adopt this position, and then the media fucking reports on it like it's normal. And at this point, it really does feel like they are able to hit the propaganda line so fucking hard that people just look at Israel's own personal commitment to ethnically cleansing Gaza, and they hear like Israeli officials literally say, we're going to do ethnic cleansing. We're doing ethnic cleansing. We're doing ethnic cleansing. Okay. And they forget about it. And then the next day they're like, well, Israel's saying that these guys are actually human shields. So I believe it. It blows my fucking mind. I mean, this is so ridiculous. I mean, it's unserious, but it's also gross and disgusting. I would laugh if it wasn't so damaging.
And verify several of them. First of all, you mentioned this constant point about, is the north of Gaza safe, and is Hamas keeping people in the north blocking?
Anyway, many of you, I'll keep it $1.50. Many of you, okay, are currently watching. Many of you are too young to remember the post 9/11 universe, okay, in America. You were either born after 9/11 or born during 9/11. You know what I mean? Like, you were too young to understand what the media looked like in that universe, okay? I was pretty young too, but at least I had a decent understanding of what the fuck was going on. And the reality is, especially, dude, you were 10, lol. Yes, but I was 10 in Turkey. I think that there's a lot of, like, the way that this is taught to everyone that's not in America is very different, especially if you have proximity to the Middle East itself. So, and I'm not even talking about being specifically 10. I'm talking about the aftermath, the 10 years after 9/11, okay? Like, becoming an adolescent in that process, going through puberty in that process is very different than just like being 6 or being 5 or being 4, not understanding it at all. And it's also certainly different looking at it from the outside, especially as someone who had a connection to the United States of America, right? So for me, as someone who had connections to the United States of America, who had traveled to the U.S. as well as a Turkish person, watching all of this stuff unfold, watching the messaging, watching the media, watching the way that, I mean, a lot of people were captivated by the likes of Jon Stewart, for example, for a particular reason. That reason was that Jon Stewart was the only voice of reason in mainstream media at the time that was like very critical of the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan as well. So a lot of that stuff happened not directly after 9/11. It happened in the subsequent 10 to 15 years after 9/11. So a lot of you probably didn't recognize that at the time because you were too young. You're watching that happen right now, okay? You're watching that happen right now. You're seeing how the media covers every step. You're seeing how the media operates in lockstep with the State Department. You're seeing how they try to reframe things that are happening right in front of your fucking eyes, okay? The similarities are gigantic, okay? This is why at every fucking 9/11, I always love going through the cultural mania that was instilled upon the American public and in the West in general, in an effort to justify the bombing campaigns that would start, okay? And it is bar for bar the same shit that's occurring right now. They're whitewashing the atrocities. They're turning a blind eye to it in many instances, or at the very least defending it, right? And also on top of that, anyone that speaks out against this, horrific ethnic cleansing campaign is cast aside and bullied down. And instead of saying like, oh, you're pro Saddam, because that's what they used to say when people would say this is ridiculous, going into Iraq is a ridiculous move, they would say, oh, you're pro Saddam. You love terrorism, fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. You love terrorism. You're against American freedom. We have to kill these people. We have to kill these people. Oh, you must be pro Osama bin Laden. And now it's the same shit. It's like, oh, you think it's fucked up to do ethnic cleansing in Gaza? You think it's fucked up that Israel maintains an apartheid state in incredibly violent means? Well, you must be anti-Semitic and love Hamas. Wow. And then they say that, and then they take it one step further where they like write think pieces about how do we deal with the anti-Semitism on the left? How will we purge these socialists from these anti-Semitic Hamas-loving socialists from the Democratic Party? How do we do that? Like the think piece economy is thriving right now. Are they talking about what's going on? Are they talking about ethnic cleansing? No. Or even if they do, what do they do? Even if they talk about ethnic cleansing, they literally will take the ethnic cleansing conversation, cast it aside, and place the same amount of emphasis, if not more, on what's going on our college campuses. That is fucking crazy. Can you imagine? 3,000 children have been ruthlessly slaughtered. And we don't even know what the latest count is because Israel also shut down all telecommunications in Gaza as it's conducting a ridiculous bombing campaign still. And it is wild. It is wild that while that is happening, the way that people are talking about the situation, is, oh, well, I don't know, there was a anti-Semitism happening in one of these pro-Palestinian protests. Yeah, that does happen. Yeah, of course. Anti-Semitism is a permanent fixture in the Western world, okay? That's how the Holocaust happened, okay? It is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. But anti-Semitism has no basis in this conversation. Anti-Semitism is a mere distraction in this conversation. I'll say it like that. Anti-Semitism is not how you engage in anti-Zionism. It's fucking ridiculous. And no matter how much people try to tamper and clamp down on voices that are callous, voices that are immoral, that look to the situation on hand and not just recognize the inhumanity of the apartheid, but are blinded by that inhumanity and think all matter of retaliation is perfectly just and they will fucking celebrate it, okay? Not realizing that most people will use their celebrations against the Palestinian emancipation cause in the Western world. There's two different things. I will never sit here and tell a Palestinian optics sweaty. I won't do that, okay? Because they're the ones who are suffering. But if you're an American and you're fucking running around thinking that you can be as bloodthirsty as Israeli Zionism supporters can be when they talk about Palestinians, let me tell you, you can't do that. You can't be as callous, okay? So I do make that distinction. But I also do understand that it's fucking ridiculous to hyper-focus on hyper-focus on like the fucking silly-ass takes coming from the left and make it seem like this is the major thing. This is what's motivating people. It's like it's anti-Semitism that's motivating people on the left to understand the dignity of Palestinian lives. Like, that's what it is. Anti-Semitism is not, it has nothing to do with anti-Zionism, okay? In many instances, the greatest anti-Semites are also pro-Zionist, whether it be literal fucking Nazis or literal neo-Nazis and fascists in European countries right now that support the statehood project of Israel because, one, they believe that Israel's enemies are, a grave threat to their own society, Muslims. They hate the hordes of Muslims coming in, okay? Or they love a place where Jews can just go so they're not their neighbors. That's it. They're like, oh, it's awesome. That's why you see motherfuckers who literally will post like the most insane, unhinged anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, turn around and celebrate Israel and like dab it up with fucking Netanyahu because it's great for them. They don't want to be fucking neighbors with Jewish people. They're like, oh, it's great. Go to Israel. It's awesome. Yeah, let's put them all in the desert. It's fucking great.
Them in the north so they can't go south. We still have people inside Gaza who tell us that nowhere is safe inside Gaza because there have been airstrikes in the north, in the south, in central Gaza. We've been putting out those pictures every day. The UN has said that there is no safe place in Gaza. We haven't seen evidence that Hamas is blocking the roads. It may have happened. It may be happening, but there is still no safe place in Gaza. That is just one of the things that we could verify because we were able to communicate with our people inside, which is now, for the moment, impossible.
But the idea of it's still credible despite, they lied about that. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Anti-Semitism is so fucking gross. I will never allow it to take root in this community. I will never allow it to fucking take root anywhere. I will always fucking fight against it. But it hurts my fucking soul when I hear from so many people that look to the ongoing situation and cast the entirety of the left and the entirety of the Palestinian liberation movement with the anti-Semitic brush. Like,
as you mentioned, that
and for some, maybe they've been misled. Maybe they've actually seen, definitely seen anti-Semitic rhetoric, and that really fucking turned, that really dialed up a notch, and they personally were terrified of that. Okay, I'm not discounting that, but there are certainly others who are utilizing this as an opportunity to just cast a shadow on the entirety of the Palestinian emancipation movement. It is being weaponized, and it is really fucking gross because ultimately the major point of contention here isn't that like Hamas is going to come and kill Amy Schumer in her fucking gated neighborhood in like the Hidden Hills or wherever the fuck she lives. You know what I mean? Like the real point of contention does not surround Hamas operatives fucking sneaking across the San Diego border. The real issue here is what is happening right in front of our eyes.
Violence of illegal Israeli settlers who have been getting more and more access to arms, fighting against a largely unarmed population here in the West Bank.
All right, thank you, Nida Ibrahim. That update is from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. You can see the flashes there on your screen. That is the live picture from Gaza, where there's almost a complete blackout on the strip, and there is almost a complete communications blackout as well. Let's bring in Osama bin Javed. Osama is joining us from Istanbul. Osama, there have been large solidarity protests where you are as well. Tell us about those.
Well, as we've been watching those horrific scenes come out of Gaza in the last few hours, thousands of people have gathered across Turkey in sporadic protests. The largest one behind us in front of the Israeli consulate here in the city of Istanbul. People have been coming in the last few hours as they're hearing the news. They're coming out on the streets.
What is this? It's literally just tankies basically using the same people who say Putin is rebuilding the glory of the Soviet Union and claim that the left has an anti-Semitism problem. I don't know who these fucking tankies are. If you're talking about like, I don't know, are there people pushing Z who are on the ML side? Certainly. Okay, it's ridiculous. It's frivolous. It's silly, but I don't think it's as large as large as a constituency as you think this is. Okay, it's like The only reason why you're hyper focused on it is because you don't know about the ultras that like fucking defend the shining path or some shit, okay? You just don't care about it because that's not in your face as much. But there's always going to be people with varying different opinions that are silly, okay? What is their impact? What is their fucking impact? You know what I mean? What kind of impact do they have?
As well, to boycott Israeli products, to come out and demand...
Like, I'll tell you this much. I think anti-Semitism is gross. It's disgusting, right? I don't think we should turn a blind eye to it. But one of the major reasons as to why I fucking attack anti-Semitism is because anti-Semitism is one of the greatest ways to figure out that someone is a fascist, okay? And that ideology is inherently violent, is inherently devastating. And more importantly than it being immoral, it also has taken root in places of power. Okay? Yes, it is the canary in the coal mine, actually. Anti-Semitism is, which is why the Canary Mission calls itself that, even though they're gross psychopaths. Do you understand? And it is so crazy. It is so crazy to me in particular that all of these fucking monsters, like those in the Tory party in the UK, who say gross anti-Semitic shit all the fucking time, turn around and be like, the left is the anti-Semitic ones. Guys, watch out. Look out for the left. Like, the greatest example of this I've used in the past, the greatest example I pointed to was when Jeremy Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party. The media was calling him an anti-Semite, like in an insane way. I never strayed away from my message. I always fucking pushed back against that. I always said it's absolutely disgusting that people said Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite. It's completely and utterly ridiculous to say such a thing. Rest in power. David Graeber also defended Corbyn as well. And many others did, but it didn't matter because like all of these prominent Jews who were defending Corbyn and saying that he's not an anti-Semite at all were completely silenced by the media. You never heard about them. You only heard like Zionists who wanted to defend Zionists of all backgrounds, Christian Zionists, Jewish Zionists that completely fucking jumped on the Corbyn is an anti-Semite campaign, okay? While they were doing that, one of the most insane things that happened while they were doing that was when the Tory party, okay, actually put forward a statue. They put up a statue of the first female MP, okay, while they were literally screaming from the fucking rooftops about how Corbyn was a fucking anti-Semite. They literally turned around and put up a statue to Nancy Astor, okay? For those of you who don't know, Nancy Witcher Langhord Astor Viscountess was a former member of the Parliament of the United Kingdom, right? The First Lady of British politics. She was also a rabid anti-Semite. She was literally a rabid anti-Semite. Said things such as, you know, Hitler or the Nazis had good ideas about Jews, like things of that nature. So, and was there any coverage on that? Did anybody go, wow, the anti-Semitism coming from the Tory party is fucking unimaginable? Did they say that at the time? Of course they didn't say that at the time. Okay? Because while anti-Semitism is real, it's a very real problem. Okay? Because ultimately it's the one neat little bow to tie every anti-materialist school of thought with. You have to find an enemy, you have to find a villain, and historically it's always Jews. Okay? That's why all conspiracy theories, even to this day, almost always revolve around, oh, Jews are doing it. They must be doing it. They control the media, they control politics, they control this, they control that. Okay? Historically, that's just how it's been. I guess maybe it goes back to the original sin. I don't know, killing Jesus, whatever. Whatever these fucking psycho Christians think. But my point is, okay, This has historically been at the heart of every fucking form of bigotry. Anti-Semitism is like the original bigotry. It's the most compelling bigotry that exists, and it has always been a rallying cry of the worst fucking fascists we've ever seen. Okay? This much is true. So it is infinitely scarier, in my fucking opinion, that people can so callously deploy a very real fear while simultaneously being fascists them fucking selves. Okay? It's crazy to me to see Islamophobic, anti-black, anti-Semitic fucking conservative freaks turn around and tell Jews that they are fake Jews or anti-Semitic themselves for criticizing Israel. This is incredibly alarming. Okay? The original sin is from being human, not killing Jesus. Yeah, no, I said the wrong thing. Sorry. Oh, here in France, the most left big politician Mélenchon is going through his Corbyn moment right now after he called for a ceasefire. Last week, he used the word camped in a random sentence. You can imagine the ensuing theories on TV around what he may have insinuated. Yeah, it's fucking gross. It's a very effective way to just like silence any kind of reasonable conversation that recognizes the dignity and humanity of Palestinians. Okay? It's fucking gross. People do it to me too. It's like, I mean, think about it, dude. My number one, the number one death threats that I get, credible ones as well, that even like the FBI has to be fucking involved with on a regular basis, is Nazis. Okay? Nazis. Neo-Nazis, alt-right members, you know, people that fucking openly hate Jewish people. I criticize them on a regular basis. I attack anti-Semitism on a regular basis, and yet I'm still in the crosshairs in this moment where people fucking turn around and say, that guy, I don't know, I don't like it. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitic, and he's doing anti-Zionism. He must be anti-Semitic. It's gross. It's so gross. The idea that Jews killed Jesus was so stupid to me. I thought Romans killed Jesus. Jews is the Facebook business model 2,000 years early. I mean, all that stuff is stupid, but it's all stupid. And I hate seeing it. Anyway, I don't want to. I think just saying anti-Zionism is never anti-Semitism is incorrect and dangerous information. Misinformation, for instance, during college, we hosted a religious event on the quad and SJP showed up trying to disrupt the event. That's not fucking anti-Zionism. That's just a very clearly anti-Semitism masked as anti-Zionism. I think it's just not proper to say that all anti-Zionism can never be anti-Semitism. No, I don't. I'm not saying that. That must have been misunderstood. No, I'm saying that there are certainly people who utilize anti-Zionism as a way to launder anti-Semitic points of view, but I do not marry anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. I think it's stupid to say that. I'm aware. I mean, there's literal fucking. I mean, this is a. Richard Spencer loves Israel, but Nick Fuentes hates Israel. They're both Nazis. How does that work? You know what I mean? There's varying degrees. But guess what? Both of them are anti-Semitic. You know what I mean? Think about that. Some Nazis look to Israel and go, oh, we can do a Christian ethno-state ourselves by using the same mechanism. Some WASP nationalists like Tucker Carlson, for example, have praised Israel's anti-immigration campaigns where they created a bounty system for undocumented Ethiopian Jews that were inside of the boundaries of Israel illegally, where Israel tried to do a bounty board for anyone and every illegal immigrant inside of the boundaries of Israel, where they were like outsourcing it to like, you know, private militias. Tucker Carlson loved that shit. He was defending it. He was supporting it. You know what I mean? Is Tucker Carlson personally a fan of Jewish people? I don't think so. Probably not.
The level of a regional flash or regional escalation or regional war.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Elias Hanna, thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking to us from Beirut. Well, let's bring in Patty Culhane. She's joining us from Washington, D.C. for more on the U.S.'s role in the conflict. So my last guest from Beirut, Ilyas Hanna, was just saying that the U.S. is trying to deter other actors from joining in the war and trying to prevent a regional conflict. Just talk to us about what the U.S.'s role has been up until this point.
Well, the U.S., I think it's very
What?
interesting.
Wait, so the FBI contacted you because the chat being too right-wing Nazi? My chat? You think my chat is too right-wing Nazi? You're fucking out of your mind. No, dumbass. The FBI contacted me because I was getting fucking credible death threats from actual Nazis. The fuck?
After October.
That's why I get, like, frustrated. I get frustrated with people who are callous in their attitude towards Israelis that were murdered, okay? I get frustrated with that. But I also don't like that people say, oh, well, this is Hasan's community that he's fostered, when we work around the fucking clock to ensure to the best of our fucking ability here to make sure that none of that exists, okay? It's crazy. But of course, people can't fucking hit me on what I say, so then they go, oh, I found this message in the chat. Fucking ridiculous.
He mentioned, and then you heard Biden come out and say he wanted $14 billion in additional aid for Israel. And importantly, he has not called for a ceasefire. What we've heard from the White House is when the hostages are out, then we can possibly think about a ceasefire. So, you know, they say behind the scenes, and this has been the mantra from the Biden administration, from all across the U.S. government, is that they expect Israel to follow the rules of law, the laws of war. What they don't say is when Israel violates the rules of law or the laws of war, that they are in fact violating them. Collective punishment is a war crime. Cutting off food, water, and energy is a war crime. So they say they shouldn't do that, but when they do that, they don't say that they've done it, if that makes sense.
Right. So, Patty, what are Biden's people saying behind the scenes?
This has been the most interesting.
Yeah, these people's narratives include both that you ban all dissent, but somehow allow Nazis that want you dead to fester in chat. Yeah, it's because it doesn't have to make sense. It's just like when your entire worldview revolves around not like genuine moral considerations or moral boundaries you've placed upon yourself, but instead of being like, you know, morally consistent, okay, it's more so about I think that Hasan is ontologically evil and everything he does is bad. You end up having these deranged conversations in your mind. And then you do everything you can with post hoc rationalizations to make that attitude stick. In normal circumstances, this would be considered a smear campaign. But in this situation, there's definitely a lot of other interests at play, especially if you position yourself in one camp, for example. Like, let's say you're on the pro-Israel camp in this regard, then you can gather more people to your side, and have like a larger fucking conversation and make an untruth become the truth in the eyes of many.